The most dangerous African piranha, a toothy fish that jumps 10 feet high out of the water. A prehistoric monster with surprising abilities, as well as the smallest but incredibly dangerous crocodile. Welcome to It's Wild. In this episode, you'll learn about the most dangerous river inhabitants. Goliath tigerfish. This is the name of the first guest of our episode, who is tacitly called the African piranha. The more popular name is the Goliath tigerfish, or mabenga. This is a very large and at the same time predatory fish which can be found in the Congo River Basin, the Lualaba River, Lakes Upemba, and Tanganyika. The river monster grows to more than 4.5 feet in length, and it weighs about 110 pounds. The predator has 32 teeth, each of which is as sharp as a razor. It's not for nothing that this fish is very popular among adventurers that decide to test their skills, and they enter a fishing match with it. However, no matter how big the plans or hopes of people, luck is not always on their side. Although it may be more accurate to say that luck is not always enough. Still, the Goliath tigerfish is scarier than usual. Its mouth, with teeth several inches long, does not forgive mistakes. It'd be a different matter if this monster just had long and sharp teeth. However, it was not enough for Mother Nature. She endowed the mabenga with amazing confidence in itself and its fins, so that the fish could often swim directly against the current. It does so quite successfully. No matter how murky the water that it lives in may be, it will also have no problems with the search for prey. Our guest is able to perceive low-frequency vibrations from other organisms, so no one can hide from it. You might think that since this is the case, the big tigerfish chooses the most suitable target and swims in its footsteps. This sounds quite logical, but alas, in reality, that's not the case. The mabenga doesn't think about who to attack at all. She has the strength and energy to take on anyone. It swallows small fish whole, and it tears larger prey into pieces. If suddenly the food underwater is not enough, the mabenga will happily surface on land and eat birds. According to experts who observed this fish, it ate at least 300 birds for some 15 days. And this is without taking into account the underwater inhabitants that the mabenga still did not avoid. At the same time, it's not easy to defeat our guest. The plan to pull it out of the water and deprive it of oxygen can be immediately canceled. It won't work. This fish is a double-breathing fish. In other words, if suddenly there's not enough water, and if the banks are dry, it gets out on land, and it buries itself in the mud, waiting for more suitable conditions. I'm afraid to imagine how confident and experienced anglers must be to cope with this fish. Our previous guest was far more dangerous than piranhas, but it's far from the only fish that can boast of such a thing. The piara, for example, is also quite a brutal and strong fish that's become bold enough to freely hunt piranhas. This creature is widespread in the Amazon River Basin, where it's a commercial fish. Many also choose this creature as their primary fishing target. The piara is also active, dangerous, and frisky as the mabenga. It's also a little more modest in length, no more than 4 feet. It weighs up to 40 pounds. The most notable feature of the fish are 2 pairs of fangs that are located in its lower jaw. One of them is in plain sight, while the second one is in the jaw in a folded state, and it's unnoticeable in the footage. Apparently, people are very eager to correct this situation, and therefore they breed this creature at home in an aquarium. Yes, there is such a thing. However, personally, I do not particularly like this arrangement. Alas, but this creature is wild, and living captivity is not for it. And therefore, in most cases, such predators die in aquariums in the first year. Moreover, if the fish lives at home for a year, it'll be fantastic. Less because of the endurance of the underwater inhabitant than because of the patience of the biped. How can you tolerate the piara that's trying to break free? They say that it immediately begins to run around the aquarium as soon as it feels irritated. At the same time, the fish regularly bangs its head on the glass walls and decorations that it comes to injuries. Well, let neighbors alone. Their presence for the fish is mandatory. Otherwise, it'll go crazy. At the same time, they should never be less than herself, and better, twice as large. Otherwise, it will not be a day before their trail goes cold. Zander. The fish with this name is widespread in freshwater bodies of Eastern Europe and Asia, and it's also quite large in size and is a typical predator by way of life. It feeds on fish, and small individuals also eat aquatic invertebrates. According to official data, there are xanders more than 3.5 feet long and weighing up to 33 pounds, although probably there may be larger representatives. But it's not clear how to find it out. After all, our guest leads an ambush way of life, and it often hides from prying eyes. It's possible to meet the fish only a couple of seconds before it opens its mouth and kills the opponent. Speaking of hunting, at first glance the xander has it all. Huge fang-like teeth, streamlined body, reflective layer of retina for night hunting. Take and look for prey even round the clock. But alas, they won't go far on teeth alone as piranhas do. During the attack, it's important to have a large enough throat that the xander does not have. Because of this, the fish purely physically cannot eat large prey, so it has to swim forever in search of minnows. In extreme cases, even crayfish, frogs, and water bugs will do. It seems that since Mother Nature dealt with this fish so cruelly, it must be embittered at the whole world, aggressive and uncompromising. But it's not so. We can see quite a peaceful underwater inhabitant in front of us. As a rule, it doesn't touch people. There are, of course, stories about its attacks on fishermen, but officially, no one's ever been able to confirm them. What people have been able to confirm, and quite simply, is the existence of the so-called mega piranhas. Fossils where the description was made were stored in the museum of the city of La Plata for 100 years, which is 37 miles from Buenos Aires. They collected them back in the 20th century. The age of the findings is estimated by experts at 8 to 10 million years. Presumably, the length of the fish 4 times exceeded the size of modern species of piranhas, and it was about 3.5 feet. Imagine the most voracious and dangerous piranha of modern times and now transfer all of its qualities to a fellow more than 3 feet long. For more effect, you can imagine that these piranhas are a whole pack, as in real life. It seems that nothing can be invented scarier, but was it so terrible in reality? There's an opinion that mega piranhas could be quite different from its modern counterparts. On the one hand, the found fragments of the jaw with teeth combined features peculiar to both predatory and herbivorous piranhas. On the other hand, scientists have calculated the force of the bite of the ancient monster, and let me put it this way, no peace, friendship, and gum were ever smelled. According to unconfirmed data, this piranha could squeeze its jaws with a force of up to 5,000 newtons, which is slightly weaker than the bite of an adult jaguar. With such indicators, mega piranha could easily grab any target and drag it to the bottom without resistance. It's good that this and other ancient predatory creatures are finally extinct, or we humans, to get along with them, would be very difficult. Cuvier's dwarf caiman. I thought that since we're talking about strong bites, why not discuss this rather voracious and ambiguous reptile? We can see one of the smallest living species of crocodiles in front of us. The length of males is up to 7 feet, females no more than 5 feet. As a rule, these predators weigh no more than 44 pounds. By the way, do you know what distinctive features this species has? Apart from size, of course, that's right, their enchanting brown eyes with a vertical black pupil. Sometimes the eyes can be golden yellow. Very rarely you can find them in such a coloration in relatives of crocodiles. As for the range of this predator, it lives in the Amazon lowlands and in the north of South America up to the Caribbean coast. These caimans prefer shallow areas with relatively fast currents, but they can tolerate standing deep water. They're also sometimes spotted in flooded forests. In short, they live where there are many other dangerous species. As you might think, they should keep themselves aloof, and they do not claim anything. This doesn't work with crocodiles. Even these little ones count on rather large and hardy prey like piranhas, and all the other inhabitants of forests and rivers are extremely grateful to them for this. Scientists believe that it's the Cuvier's dwarf caiman that controls their numbers, and it prevents piranhas from climbing to the top of the food chain, thus upsetting the balance of power. However, this lifestyle does not mean that this caiman does not eat anyone but piranhas. It's also happy to diversify its diet with mollusks, small reptiles, or porcupines. Okay, I suggest that we should catch our breath from all these voracious predators and that we enjoy an incredibly cute kitten whose photo was sent to me by a subscriber. She said it's a female and that she recently picked it up from a shelter. This little girl is still very small and she has no name. Actually, they asked us to remedy the situation. Write in the comments your best ideas. I'm sure that some of them will be realized by the hostess anyway. After all, such a sweet creature has no right to go without a name. Silver arowana. Have you ever heard of this tropical freshwater fish? I'm sure that even if you haven't, you've visited zoos and you may have seen it there. It's quite a frequent guest of public and amateur aquariums. It's such an unusual and at the same time frightening creature has yet to be found. Although it has nothing to do with piranhas, I would say that the silver arowana scares me even more than the famous voracious predators. All the strangest and most unusual things start in life of arowanas from early years. Did you know that for the first 2 months, their father holds the young in his mouth? Here, the young will go through 3 stages: eggs, larva, and fry. During the latter stages of development, the cubs may go out for a short walk, but none of them will leave their father's side until their yolk sac is dissolved. This is the nutritious supply of embryos from the egg. They'll have to wait until they become independent. The arowana takes quite a long time to develop, and it'll become independent only in a few years. You ask, is it worth the time? And I answer, of course it's worth it. After all, adult arowanas will acquire a ribbon-shaped body and narrow fins along the back of the back and abdomen. These give our guests a paddle shape and provide explosive acceleration during a very unusual style of hunting. These fish, just imagine, catch prey not in the water but on the surface. Arowanas jump out of the water almost 10 feet, and they greedily grab anything they can fit in their huge mouths, from bugs to birds. At times, they've even been caught eating vegetation. Either these fish are completely indiscriminate or they're omnivorous. Arapaima. The name of this fish is similar to the name of the previous fish. However, their lifestyle and capabilities are on completely different levels. Arapaima is one of the largest freshwater fish in the world, growing to an average of 6.5 feet or 10 feet, although sometimes there have been seen 16-foot-long specimens. The maximum weight of one of these fish was 440 pounds. The locals tacitly call this fish the king of the underwater world, and they do it for a reason. As a true king, the Arapaima avoids fuss, and it chooses cozy water bodies covered with vegetation for comfortable life. The Arapaima prefers not to swim in fast rivers like the same Mabanga, and in this respect, by the way, it reminds me of whales or inland taipan. All the strongest creatures are in no hurry to go anywhere. They know their strength and power and just don't see the point. Indeed, an Arapaima with such astonishing size can safely travel in the water and not be afraid of being attacked by piranhas or some other voracious creatures. For all of them, it's practically inaccessible. Another interesting thing to note is its ability to breathe both underwater and on land. This anatomical feature allows our guest not to be afraid of droughts. By the way, it allows everyone around to realize that it's Arapaima in front of them. Its manner of breathing you'll never confuse with anyone else. If we talk about the diet of these giants, their diet consists mainly of fish. But if there's an appropriate occasion, they'll gladly eat feathery, as the hunting almost always occurs on the surface of the water. The last guest of our episode, which many people will consider cute and harmless, is Brazilian otters. I'll tell you right away, they are so brutal that you can easily choose a pack of piranhas as dinner, but you wouldn't think so from their appearance, would you? The giant otter is the largest member of its family. It's active during the daytime, and it's almost unafraid of anyone. Along the banks of South American rivers, it can be found in groups of 5 to 8 individuals, occasionally even up to 20. In the water, it hunts for fish, snakes, and water birds. And when it gets on land, it looks for rodents or someone's eggs. You bet. What's the point of denying yourself all the sweetest things when this predator swells to 6.5 feet in length and consistently weighs over 44 pounds? But that's not all. Add self-defense, good communication skills, high agility, and a lot of sharp teeth and claws to its impressive size. Now you can fully feel all the power and strength that the giant otter is endowed with. It's not known what came to otters earlier, irrepressible appetite or the ability to quench this appetite. But anyway, these animals are not in vain considered to be the highest predators with amazing anatomical data and battle strategies that are honed over the years of evolution. How does the world's biggest white shark look? Why wouldn't you move closer to the tiger shark? Can the legendary megalodon come back? I'll tell you about it now. We start from this curious clip where you can see many divers meet the largest existing species of sharks face to face. Just have a look at it. How big, powerful, and majestic this whale shark is compared to people. The length of this beauty is about 40 feet. However, there are stories about 65-foot-long specimens. But don't worry, you don't have to transfer the characteristic features of these predators to the whale shark. It doesn't look like its brethren. In contrast to other sharks, the whale shark eats mainly plankton. filtering their food from the water with the help of a special filter formed by gill arches. Incidentally, this way of feeding only the whale shark has, as well as the megamouth shark and the basking shark. We'll talk about them later. This giant inhabits the warm waters, and you can come across it in all latitudes of the world ocean. The shark's body is gray or brown, with white spots located on its back and sides. Because of this unique coloration, it has a different name depending on the inhabited countries. In Madagascar, they call it multi-starred. In South America, domino. In Africa, father shilling, whereas on Java Island, starryback. However, the main indicator is, naturally, not its coloration, but the size. It was named the whale shark for. By any measure, the creature can weigh 20 tons. To feed such a huge body with plankton alone, the shark has to eat a lot. For this, Mother Nature endowed it with a bottomless maw with 15,000 teeth of up to 0.2 inches in length. This way, it filters up to 212,000 cubic feet of water each hour. Any living creature that are inside will not be able to get out of there. The thing is that this cunning fish has special grids on the gills, serving as a prison for plankton. Interestingly, you will obviously not be able to release on license. All the imprisoned will inevitably be rubbed off against the teeth. Needless to say that no other big sea inhabitants don't want such a sad end to their life. This is why nobody messes with the whale shark. It feels like a queen in the water and quietly swims at a speed of no more than 3 miles an hour to spare its energy. Megalodon. This is exactly what people who were on board cried out in the next video. People lost their tongue thinking that they became witness of a real prehistoric shark swimming next to them. So large and frightening was that giant. However, they should have not made panic in advance. People slightly exaggerated. The scientists were sure that it was the basking shark, the second largest one. The maximum registered length was a little bit less than 33 feet, whereas people talked about specimens that are 50 feet long, weighs about 4 tons. Bearing in mind that its body shape bears a close resemblance to the structure of the white shark, these 4 tons look even more evil than those 20 tons in the whale one. Alright, why do I pay so much attention to its dimensions when it's the bottomless maw that's considered a visiting card of the living megalodon? It's exactly for its huge mouth why the basking shark was named like this. Living creatures inhabiting close up die in hundreds of thousands each day in order to keep the giant fit. Plankton, fish, crustaceans, it doesn't care whom it will have for dinner this time. That's exactly why this giant shark does not close its mouth at all to spare energy at this moment. The basking shark eats with an open mouth in the very direct sense. On its opercles, it has a natural brush looking like a whalebone, so the minnows get stuck in it. Swimming with an open maw, the shark creates permanent flow and filters microscopic goodies from the ocean. In this video, a tiger shark lays its eye on a man. It wanted to check his nerves for strength and accurately, step for step, creeping up even nearer. Though the diver was scared deep inside, he knew that he had a strong and sharp weapon that would protect him in an extreme case. He surely held it in front of the shark to let her understand that it had better not attack him. It's exactly due to the experience why the shark altered its mind and decided not to attack the man. After all, in the contrary case, it could have freely paved its life for this mistake. By the way, concerning tiger sharks, these are rather dangerous creatures, inhabiting near to shores. Their main proudness is, of course, the jaw with the sharpest teeth. In shape, they resemble a sickle sharpened from the both sides, whose edges are scattered with hundreds of jags. This is an ideal weapon for killing and preparation. The upper part is only a little different from the lower one. That's why any prey is equal to sharks, even a turtle shell or some tin. This monster, whose weight reaches 1,300 pounds, grows up to 16 feet long and can develop a speed of up to 18 miles an hour. Truth be told, a shark requires such a strong acceleration in case of extreme necessity when it goes away from attack or attacks a tasty and delicious creature. The shark is called this way because of its coloration, though they say it received its name due to its special hunting style. Similar to a tiger, it's never in a hurry and attacks from the ambush only when it is 100% sure of its victory. It carries out a sharp jerk, whereas the victim is already breathless. It's especially often when the tiger shark assaults at night, which leads to the growth of successful attack percentages. However, the hunting style is not the only reason why the tiger shark likes hanging around at night. The thing is that it has a light reflecting layer. It gives the cells a second chance to catch photons of the visible light, due to which fish can see at night. Dance macabre. We continue the subject of the tiger shark, and let's look at such a tense video with a man performing the dance macabre. The shark swam towards divers, passed all the helpers, and turned to the boss, the same as in epic scenes. For sure, she thought that there would be something tasty in the cage, whereas a man in a suit faked it. He just wanted to say hello and dance a little bit. I don't know where divers found this expedition director who was not afraid of doing this with the most dangerous predator. He held up its nose, and even despite its attempt to bite, the diver avoided attacks and continued playing with it. As a result, the man released the shark and it didn't want to come back. That's the talk. You can see a real professional on the job. Deep blue. Have you ever heard this phrase? If not, you should learn that this is how the scientific world called the biggest whale shark female discovered by people. You won't do justice to say that it looks frightening. The shark was first met in 2014, not far from the Guadalupean Islands in Mexico. The shark was more than 19 feet long, weighing 2.5 tons. For you to understand, other biggest species representatives are usually not more than 16 feet, weighing a ton. In other words, deep blue is almost 2 times bigger than its largest brethren. Nobody knows how the shark managed to eat heartedly to these sizes. Moreover, this issue became the most important topic of discussion among the spectators on the internet. Some people proposed that it had eaten a group of people and a whole boat. That's why the shark increased in size to such an extent. However, the scientists don't think so. They consider that at the moment of filming, Deep Blue was a pregnant shark more than 50 years old. The scars on its body testified to its regular clashes during mating. Researchers also noted that this white shark has a big gaping hole in the right side. The predator was also covered with deep abrasions and lesions in the area of the spinal fin and tail. Shark tamer. When people go to the show and see the professionals performing different tricks with orcas, they look rather showy. However, everybody understands that the creatures are taught and easily manageable. And now imagine the same thing, but in the open with big white sharks. This means that it's not so calm, right? Anyway, Ocean Ramsey doesn't care. The girl has been swimming in the ocean waters with big predators and does not feel discomfort. Moreover, she likes it, and it knows predators by their names. The marine biologist, freediver, influencer, or just ocean plugs into the ocean in its hydrosuit, mask, and flippers, freely approaching a 20-foot-long shark, puts her hand on its back, and swims along in the vicinity, slightly holding a spinal fin of the predator. Spectators, without a doubt, like everything. However, scientists tried to save the girl and ask her to stop similar activity. The thing is that big white sharks are unruly predators that can lash out and attack a man, especially in wild conditions. Bearing in mind that the girl had nothing underhand and naturally no chances for rescue, Ramsey is realistic about it and calls out not to repeat its stunts. The graduated marine biologist has been studying sharks for more than 10 years, their behavior, body language, and the way they contact each other and avoid conflicts. The interaction experience with more than 30 species of these fish allowed her to learn to behave underwater the way sharks do not accept it as prey and threat. Megamouth shark. This is how a third kind of shark is called, feeding on plankton. We've already talked about the whale and basking sharks. This means we have to talk about the bronze holder in terms of dimensions. So it reaches not more than 20 feet long, whereas its maw is all scattered with small teeth. In principle, almost all people managed to find out about this shark for more than 40 years from the moment of its discovery. After all, by August of 2015, only 102 specimens of this species were found. It's known that the megamouth shark has a flabby body that does not allow it to pursue its prey. For this reason, the shark does not hunt but opens its mouth and devours whatever food. It can swallow everything, from krill to small fish. It has teeth, and there are many of them. However, the fish uses them exclusively as a filter, as well as whales. The megamouth shark seems to be the quietest and kindest, as it usually is. Beware of a quiet dog in still water. When it comes to mating, the megamouth shark gives free rein to all its secret fantasies. For example, the males can bite a female so that she doesn't swim away at an inopportune moment. Yes, it does not look like a romantic kiss. After such a bite, the shark finds it difficult to get around. Greenland shark. The next monster we're going to talk about is, though more studied, you can't bring yourself to say that it's less surprising. The Greenland shark, also known as the Gurry shark or gray shark, inhabits the waters of the North Atlantic. The area stretches to the north much longer than that of other sharks. It's oviviparous. These slow sharks feed on fish and carrion, whereas the biggest specimen people found reached approximately 21 feet in length. But take it from me, this is far not the most interesting from what scientists told about it. It turns out that the Greenland monster can weigh even more than a ton. The shark reaches such dimensions for 300 to 500 years. Interestingly, it's unbelievable to turn into a hardened predator covered by different wrinkles and pigment spots. But don't rush to discuss the appearance. Without any doubts, this appearance is frightening. But how does the fish manage to live so long? Turns out that there are many factors that influence this. Firstly, no one hunts the sharks in its waters. I'm not talking about people. Secondly, the Greenland shark has the slowest metabolism among other sharks. Not only about food, but also about aging. Let it swim no quicker than a speed of 1.2 miles per hour. On the other hand, it does perfectly well in the polar regions and unhurriedly develops gradually, increasing in size with each year. But however slow the metabolism may be, you have to look for another habitat when the temperature in the native water falls to 28 degrees Fahrenheit. One of them is trimethylamine oxide. The substance with such a dreadful name turns the shark's blood into antifreeze. What's more, if you believe scientists, this shark is a highly unusual hunter. It doesn't prevent parasites from settling on its eyes or other parts of its body. Fish rise to the bite, and as long as they try to devour this or that crustacean stuck to the shark, the Greenland record breaker swallows the enemy and continues its slow way without any worries. The mightiest prehistoric monsters of the planet, ancient hybrids of crocodile and fish, and giant ancient squids. Ahead awaits an encounter with the most terrifying sea creatures in history. Look at this picture. A huge whale with an equally huge and toothy mouth jumps on a ship and can easily sink it, or even swallow it whole.
Maybe. Maybe not.
This might well have happened if this creature had survived to this day, but fortunately for us, it's long extinct. The Leviathan melville, one of the most feared and dangerous sea creatures of all time. The whale lived on our planet 10 to 9 million years ago. Its life was short by the standards of history because there are no animals that existed for tens of millions of years. Nevertheless, it was enough for the whale to make history. To make it easier to understand, Leviathan is the same as the modern sperm whale, only much larger, more aggressive, and dangerous. These monsters grew up to 60 feet in length and weighed 50 tons. Their main tool was their teeth, huge teeth. They reached 16 inches in length. For comparison, this is twice as big as the teeth of modern sperm whales and about 8 times the size of the great white shark teeth. It's hard to imagine. Given all this, it's not surprising that Leviathan were at the top of the food chain. They easily preyed on marine mammals, including other large whales. Unlike its descendant, the sperm whale, Leviathan did not often dive into deep water and preferred to deal with its prey right at the surface of the water. By the way, it lived at the same time with Megalodon, and even such a super shark could hardly stand a chance against the bloodthirsty and terrifying whale. That's saying a lot. Leopleurodon. A long body, powerful flippers, and an oblong head, and a crocodile-like jaw studded with teeth. That's what Leopleurodon looked like, a monster that lived 160 to 155 million years ago. It looks like a hybrid between a crocodile and a dangerous predatory fish. In fact, it's not a hybrid at all, but a plesiosaur, a separate genus. However, it is indeed as if it took all the best from marine predators and crocodiles, becoming a ruthless machine for the extermination of all life. This is evidenced by the fact that Liopleurodon didn't hesitate to prey on even dinosaurs, and not the smallest ones at that. It waited for dinosaurs near the shore, sharply jumped out of the water, and dragged the lizard into its home. If there were no dinosaurs nearby, but Liopleurodon wanted to eat, it could eat fish, large cephalopods, or marine reptiles. At the same time, it was very difficult to catch it. This plesiosaur masterfully used its flippers and learned to swim away from danger to a great depth. By the way, it wasn't in the water all the time. It had to rise to the surface to take a breath, like modern whales. According to scientists, one breath was enough for it to stay underwater for about an hour. Dunkleosteus. The underwater world is scary. Even when we see fish that aren't the biggest, we can get scared, let alone sharks, which can make your heart skip a beat. But Dunkleosteus is a whole other level. It's a horror in the flesh. A creature that can scare to death just by its appearance and movements. It's also a very dangerous creature. Fortunately, we cannot encounter it because Dunkleosteus lived very long ago, about 400 million years ago. Many people believe that Dunkleosteus is something like a distant ancestor of sharks, but it's not so. The first shark-like creatures appeared before Dunkleosteus about 450 million years ago. Besides, Dunkleosteus belongs to a different superorder. Dunkleosteus was quite large, but at the same time compact. You can't say that it was too long, but the strength of this monster was not in its size but in its special jaw. In the mouth of the animal there were not teeth but bone plates, and they did their job perfectly. The bite force of Dunkleosteus is more powerful than that of modern lions, hyenas, jaguars, and brown bears. Dunkleosteus bit its prey and then literally crushed it, not chewed it, so its hunting looked very brutal. In addition, there was another trick in its mouth. It didn't even destroy small prey, but simply sucked it in. The animal opened its mouth in an instant, thus creating special pressure. As a result, a powerful stream of water flew into the mouth of Dunkleosteus, along with various animals which had no chance to survive. Perhaps the next animal in the episode, Jackalopterus, were also the prey of this ruthless creature. However, they themselves were not harmless and not small at all. Jackalopterus is what you get if you hybridize a crab and a scorpion, throw it in the water, and rewind time 400 million years back. In fact, this animal is called a sea scorpion, and in some languages it's also called a crab scorpion. However, these animals were much larger than both modern scorpions and modern crabs. The length of some individuals reached 8.5 feet, and this is just what scientists managed to find. They have only fossils at their disposal and not so many at all. It's possible that these monsters were much larger. In any case, they're already considered one of the largest arthropods known to science. As for the battle between Jackalopterus and Dunkleosteus, I embellish here. In fact, Jackalopterus lived in fresh water, unlike Dunkleosteus. Still, it would have been cool to see this sea scorpion and the creature with hellish bony plates in a mouth fight. Jackalopterus itself had powerful claws, which it used to deal with its prey brutally. Apparently, this creepy arthropod hid in an ambush and then sharply attacked the prey, mercilessly destroying it with its claws. Camarasaurus. Many of you know about such a creature as the giant squid. It's a creepy cephalopod that lives at great depths. It's not dangerous to humans, but it can at least scare us with its size and creepy tentacles. But in prehistoric times, there was something scarier. Camarasaurus is a very ancient creature that lived 470 million years ago. It's scarier and more dangerous than all modern giant squids combined. Its oblong body ended in a head with tentacles. It looked like an alien monster, not a creature from our planet. This 33-foot-long squid ruled the world ocean for about 30 million years. This conclusion was reached by scientists who found that, judging by the size of the squid, it was a top predator. In the depths of the Camarasaurus tentacles, a powerful beak hid. Modern cephalopods also have such a beak. With its help, Camarasaurus mercilessly grinded the rather large inhabitants of its time to dust, including creepy trilobites and crustaceans. If Jackalopterus had lived several tens of millions of years earlier, this prehistoric kraken would have gladly eaten them, but it still preferred to hunt simple, plankton-like prey. Although the word hunt is an overstatement, scientists believe that the prehistoric cephalopods simply lay on the bottom and waited, and plankton often swam into its mouth itself. That's about it. Write in the comments which river dweller seemed the most dangerous to you. For more information, watch other videos.